Yeah, it's a fixed.
Ridiculous.
It's
you can buy this Escalade, and it's going to be $2,000.
Yeah, here not $100,000 Escalade.
It's a rolling, depreciating
yeah,
asset.
for $1,200 a month. Sure, qualify.
That makes sense.
Welcome to the podcast. We are Zoodealio and the iBuyer experiment, and we're going to talk today about really nothing. We don't have any topics. We're just going to jam, right? I mean, Kayla has a little bit.
Okay, well,
teed up a little bit.
Sounds exciting, right, everybody?
Nothing's like hot off the press, but I mean, hey, there's always things to talk about, right? That are relevant in our space, especially in these dynamic, crazy times. Inventory's hella low, rates hella high.
It's a weird market.
Yeah,
Weird market.
The rates are really high right now. It's been the highest ever or since.
That's what I'm saying. I think. I mean, you guys can yell at me but I think it's their political play. We're going to see them go up the rest of the year. Then 24, they're going to start going down.
Yes, Biden will come in and be like, we're going to help the economy.
Exactly. Save grace.
Let's bring down the rates.
Okay, so
Exactly.
here's what's going on. It's a tough market, and real estate agents across the country are feeling it. And we're on pace for about 4 million home sales this year. Last time there were only 4 million home sales, there were only about 750,000 agents. So now we have about 1.5 million real estate agents. And I am picking up in online forums a lot of chatter from real estate agents talking about how difficult this market is. Here's something on Reddit. I've lost my passion for real estate. I know a lot of agents are leaving the business right now because it's a challenging market, but I've been feeling this way for maybe 18 months or so. It's not related to the market. I've just really I'm capped. I'm on track to beat my previous year's numbers. I just no longer enjoy the work like I used to. And then this poster goes on to explain just kind of like he's doing well. His business is doing well, and he's still doing good lead generating, but he's just tired of it. And so what is it?
He's lost that love and feeling.
Well, I just think the real estate business, it's a grind in general.
It is
right?
a grind.
I look at, I recently had a conversation with my Carly, and
with my Carly,
with my wife Carly.
I know, that was
The sentiment around it is virtually everybody who's been in the game for a lot of times you can go in, step in, crush it 5 years, 10 years or so, but then at some point you usually turn the page, whether you go into some level of brokerage ownership, and this is obviously that top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5%, right? So is what I'm talking about. People that have made it in the business, they get it, they can be successful. They turn the page and go into some form of leadership or something where honestly they can make more money being an everyday agent, but it's just I think the grind is real.
It's not as sexy as it looks.
It's not as we try and make it look on Instagram.
Oh,
yes. We're all driving
clients
BMWs.
laboring on you. I mean, think about it. When you're an agent, I mean, we were just saying this before about running your business as buyers versus sellers, and you definitely deal with it even with sellers. But buyers, dude, you are so much. You have them in your car, you have them on the phone talking about transactions. You're dealing with their personal problems. You become their best friend, their counselor, their therapist. Right? That's why they have so many memes and jokes around it. But how about you? I mean, I remember representing a few divorce situations in sellers, whereas especially when there's lots of equity. Oh my gosh,
They want to fight over it.
Yes,
all of it. Well, it's a tough market, and I totally get that. Transaction count is lower. Competition is pretty fierce. However, NAR came out and said that in 2021, a realtor has worked an average of 35 hours. In 2022,
the whole year?
Per week. Sorry.
Per week.
Sorry. let me read it. So,
wow, that's about right.
So, so NAR said that in 2021, realtors worked an average of 35 hours per week. Okay. In 2022, realtors only worked an average of 30 hours a week.
Oh,
and
2023?
So having to work more for
15
less
hours
money.
a week?
So they worked less.
They
worked less last year.
Yeah.
So it's a tough market, and instead of working more, they're working less.
Wait, just so
And
they're
making
working
less money.
They're working less now than they were last year.
Yes.
Yes.
No, They
Well,
were
this
working
is-
less in 2022 than they were in
Right, in
2021.
2021. And so
Okay, that's where I got screwed.
2023 is data's not out yet, right? But
Yeah,
we'll
obviously,
probably
yeah.
find that it'll be like 28, 27 hours. So how is it in a world where there's less deals to be done and you got to work harder for those deals? How do you work less?
You can get less deals. That's all.
I think it's setting expectations with your clients. Right?
When it comes to working, I think it's actually what I'm picking up on is maybe instead of actually doing the work, agents aren't.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, either that or they want those transactions that just come easy, right? Where a lot of times people are, there was going from 6 million to 4 million transactions. That's obviously a 33% hit, right? That's massive. So when there's 1/3 less transactions, now deals are not as plentiful. They're required to actually sell, promote, run marketing, advertising, prospecting type models. We all know agents,
But they're not doing that.
Exactly. The greater body is not doing that. They're transactional.
They get tired and then they stop. They stop prospecting. Yep.
Yep. They get told no that
Yep.
4th and 5th time, and
That brings their hours down, their hours of work. But there are a lot of agents out there that, they go to the office every day and they're there for 8 hours, at least 8 hours a day. And if they don't have clients that they're working with, they're prospecting.
those agents are crushing it still too. Like I love these markets when I've said it for a lot. When we go through these thatchings like we are right now,
Yep.
spells opportunity.
Agents just need to take the Darren Hardy approach. You go after your nose because that leads to your next net. Yes,
Yep.
at some point.
Yep.
It can be that simple.
You're going to get more no's than yeses, and that's what I said. People give up. So
Every no is closer to a yes. So I say that
That's the truth.
over and over again.
Never mind. I was about to say something that probably wasn't appropriate. I mean that equates in all aspects of life. I can attest to that.
All right. Yeah.
Okay.
You just keep doing it. Eventually, the yes will come.
Become foolproof.
Speaking of Darren Hardy, I love his book, The Compound Effect, and
It's
so
one of my favorites.
Yeah, if you're struggling, if you're in that percent that's feeling down and a little depressed about this market, read The Compound Effect.
I actually feel like that book is falling out of the limelight a little bit, and it's an amazing book. I mean,
He breaks it down, in my opinion,
about
simply
even real estate
and very different than a lot of other quote unquote personal self-development people. If that's obvious, it is that, but I don't know if that's the full category to put it in. It's just the moment to moment choices that you don't think that seem meaningless that equate to big gargantuan results over the course of time. And everybody wants the now, instant. And so when you're in the moment, you're like, well, I'm not getting any results. This sucks. It doesn't feel like you're going anywhere. But you keep pushing and you keep pushing.
Yep.
And eventually you're like, 6 months later, you're like, and you're consistent, you're like, oh shit, I'm here right now? Wow. That's the result.
incremental moves create monumental results, right? I think that's a line out of that book.
I love it.
So that's what it's all about.
I agree. And it sounds like at Mega Camp, Keller Williams had their Mega Camp today in Austin, Texas. And
Oh, very exciting.
Yesterday,
Yeah.
today, tomorrow.
yeah, so Gary Keller, I guess, just had a killer speech and came out guns blazing, telling the real estate industry and telling his agents to stay the course, work hard. You know, you think interest rates are bad. Well, when he started real estate back in 1903, just kidding. Sorry,
Love
I
you,
had to.
GK.
In 1979, he said it's back so long he can't even find the published interest rate, but basically it was sky high. Affordability, apparently, as a percentage of our income right now, Americans are spending about like 25% towards housing. Back when he first started selling, it was like 35% of their income towards
Super house
housing.
poor.
Yeah, so some interesting takeaways from his talk today. One of the other things that they pointed out, it was either him or Sean. What's the other guy's name? Jason Abrams.
Jason Abrams.
Yeah, it was one of the two. Mentioned how a lot of Americans right now they're buying really expensive vehicles and they're buying their dream car instead of their dream house, essentially. I thought that was really interesting.
I have not heard that one.
Yeah. It's because interest rates on a car right now are insane.
Yeah, like 6-7%, right?
But
They're
you
up
can
too,
qualify
they-
for
are they
a
down?
car easier than a house. So
Yeah,
So it makes
Well,
sense.
yeah, the qualification
Which we've talked about this before.
it doesn't even make any
It
sense.
makes
you can show that you pay $2,500 a month of rent for, let's say, a year or maybe two. Like, nope, still don't qualify for a $1,800 mortgage.
Yeah, it's a fixed. and
Ridiculous.
It's a
you can buy this
fixed asset.
Escalade, and it's going to be $2,000.
Yeah,
a
here
month.
not $100,000
It's
Escalade
a
for
rolling depreciating
yeah,
asset.
for $1,200 a month. Sure, qualify.
That makes sense.
It's so stupid. I know we've talked about this before, but it does grind my gears for sure, especially because we build wealth through home ownership. The net worth of a homeowner is 35 times greater than of a renter. So we really all should be pursuing that opportunity, even though it's hard. And if you're selling real estate, it's kind of your ethical obligation to get out there and promote home ownership and show that there are still ways to accomplish that goal. So what I want to do is I want to talk about some ways that sellers can sell, or maybe sellers don't sell. Maybe sellers take another strategy, and buyers can buy.
Keep it as an investment property.
Okay, so
Tell
what's
people
the
right now.
strategy behind that?
I mean, your 3% interest rate is an asset.
100%.
That's it. So you can't get rid of it. I mean, it's kind of stupid to move,
Okay.
unless you have to.
So how about that person that wants to buy another home that has a 3% interest rate and likes that rate, doesn't like the home, but doesn't have money for a down payment?
Okay, so they got to go get a home equity line of credit, use that as a down payment, rent their house.
Either that or they could always do a seller finance wrap. That's another one, right? 10% down, 20% down, depending on what you want to offer in that situation. What I like about that model is they rent it out. They're still having to manage the property, maintenance the property, et cetera. In a seller finance situation, you can now go give a par pricing to the rate to the market, make them put 20% down, especially if it's a nice property or even maybe less. But then you have 6.5, 7% interest rate, and now you're making that money as well, and you're not having to do crap.
Okay,
That's,
so wait.
that's tough for some people because a lot of people have a lot of equity, so they can they may only owe $400,000 on $1 million house. Mm-hmm. You can wrap the $400,000, but not many people have $600,000 to come down with. So
Touche.
you got to find it's like a little bit of
Well, and I think
searching for a needle in a haystack too when you're looking for those types of houses. And
20% down on seller finance is not always the easiest thing either.
No. But yeah, I think the bottom line is, and that's why people aren't moving, is because your 3% interest rate is an asset, and you don't want to get rid of it.
But I like your strategy of, okay, if you're in that 3% interest rate and you don't have money for a down payment, you can go get a HELOC on your home, pull out enough for that down payment, and then turn that property into rental and then buy your next home with the percentage that you took out from your HELOC. And you could get the seller to contribute to a 2-1 buy down so that you can have a low interest rate for the next 2 years.
Right. Betting that the rates are going to come down lower than what they are at some point in time in the next 2 years.
That's a gamble, though. You know, the reality is like they could keep going up.
They could.
I mean, historically, we've seen interest rates as high as 18%.
24 is an election year. I'm standing by what I'm saying. Rates will come down.
Okay.
It's a different election year, though, I think. It always is.
It always is. Keith, what are some words of wisdom?
I wonder what the interest rates were last election year. 2020?
5.875.
I don't know.
I think that
I don't know. I just pulled that. Let's Google it.
2020, November 2020.
Yeah, well, I don't think you're probably terribly far off.
They were probably in the 4s.
Yeah.
4, 5, 6.
But I mean, it looks like we're probably going to see some cuts in like March or April of 2024. That's when. But I think we're probably going to be staying right around where we are now.
Yep.
Until that time frame.
Oh, the interest rates were insane low.
In 2020?
In December of 2020, The 30-year fixed was 2.625.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's right.
Well,
After, it was right after COVID, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know it was right after COVID.
So I think more telling
when
would
COVID
be
started to chill.
2016.
Yeah, 2016. What was December or November 2016?
Well, but I mean, usually keep in mind there's like a
3.77.
Right, they usually got to drop and put pressure on them 6 months before the election.
3.94. Yeah, so you're talking March. That's why most
Yep.
people think it's
Exactly.
See the Fed cutting rates around March.
Me too. I concur.
But one of the other things that Gary Keller talked about on stage today was how people thinking that they can time the market is absolutely ridiculous. Like, you can't time the market.
I mean, some people do.
Well, think about this one: hedge funds.
It's not like they mean to. I mean, some people.
Of course,
they
you get
try to
lucky.
in there, they get lucky and they do it. I mean,
Of course, but his point is that homeownership is a worthwhile goal, and if you can,
100%.
you should, and if you intend to stay in that property for at least 7 years,
Yeah,
then
usually that's 7 to 10 cycle.
historically you're going to do better than not.
Yep.
And I always say, like, there's never been a property that I've purchased that isn't worth more today than when I purchased it, ever.
I can tell you this much: there's never been a property that I've bought that I don't wish I still owned today.
Touche.
All right. If we all had that crystal ball.
Exactly. Yep.
Well, kind of a like last topic to like round us out today. It's been some interesting things. Real estate agents don't buy enough of the product that they sell.
that's right. They don't.
It is kind of weird, right? And it's like one of the only industries that allows it, right? Because like insider trading for brokers and all that other stuff. I mean, you go to prison, right? Where we can totally do insider trader type activities. And I mean, your savvier investors do. I think that's where sometimes, like what we were just talking about earlier, that top 1 to 5% of agents ends up stepping into is buying and properties, right? They see enough of it and they're like, okay, cool, I get it. Let's go make money here. Right? Get in control of the transaction.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it would be interesting to, I mean, they probably don't have this stat, and you'd have to survey every licensed agent, but how many agents sell real estate and have never even been a homeowner? They don't even own a home, so they don't probably really understand the product. They're just selling a product based on what they think they know, even though they haven't experienced themselves, because you can make pretty good money.
that is interesting. So just in my tenure in mentoring agents, there have been several that I've mentored that weren't homeowners, and they felt like they had imposter syndrome because they'd never bought a home, and they're like,
they never have.
yeah, and they would share with me just openly, like, I feel like an imposter because I've never actually bought a house myself. Yeah. So it's interesting you mentioned that, Keith. There's probably a lot of agents out there that haven't owned a home, and and then there's probably a lot that don't invest either. And I think it was Tom Ferry.
I think there's a ton.
Tom Ferry was talking about that, and he actually had an interesting concept. He said that he believes that NAR should unionize, not in the sense of like the auto industry and all of that. And during this podcast, it was with the CEO of Toma Mortgage, and he basically said, "Oh, that would be a disaster. Like I could see like the less productive agents like stepping up into all of these like roles and just creating a bunch of a big mess." But Tom Ferry's idea wasn't that we should unionize for those reasons. It's we should unionize so that there is a way for agents to retire. A percent of all of their commission goes into like a retirement account or something, so that agents can actually retire because we don't buy enough of our product. They
don't invest in a 401k.
Right. We're self-employed. And so all of
Spend
these
your
things.
commission check on a good vacation.
You forget about
BMW.
taxes.
Yeah.
It's the C-Class Mercedes.
C-Class Mercedes.
C-Class.
Oh, they have the A-Class now. It's
Oh,
even
wow.
smaller.
It's even more entry level. It's like,
Yes.
no, but I thought that was a really interesting concept. I've never heard anyone say that before. And for Tom Ferry to say it, I thought was kind of interesting. I'm like, okay, I don't necessarily disagree with him.
It is interesting.
But I don't want it.
So
something in my pocket. That's
Well, Jay,
that would be a
you're a
mess.
savvy investor. Though. You look at things through a different lens. So I want to quickly go on more about what you were saying, because I think that there's other strategies that we've talked about that agents need to be aware that are out there to get these fence sitters to get off the fence. Because there is a ton of people that quote unquote have the golden handcuffs, right? Meaning, those of you that don't know what that means is you have a house that you have that low rate, very comfortable payment, but you're not in love with the house. You need to move up, move down. And for whatever reason, you don't want to, because to go get what you want, it's going to exponentially affect your payment. You're going to have a higher rate, and more times than not, a more expensive house. So your money's not even going as far.
Unless you're moving somewhere, completely a different area of the country.
Yeah. Yeah. So what else do we got?
What's the strategy then?
Well, I mean, I think this one.
Move to Alaska, get a little hut.
where there's like sun. What is it, like 18 hours a day sometimes?
Oh,
ironically, what I am talking about is learning is the strategies out there to stretch the dollar, right? So absolutely, you can move from California to Arizona, New Mexico, parts of Texas, et cetera, that they're flocking to, and the dollar is going way farther, right? They'll take that 7% rate on a $500,000 house versus a 4% rate on a $900,000 house that's crap compared to their $700,000 house or $500,000 house that they just bought in said state. So that's exactly what I'm talking about is how do you potentially improve the house, right? So a lot of people are equity rich, cash poor, improve the house, sell it for top dollar, make more money potentially, then reinvest that into that house to where you're actually going to be able to A, buy down the rate, or B, put a larger down payment down, because now you're maximizing your equity return, getting the house you want, and still achieving the payment that you want. There's a lot of strategies out there nowadays on companies that you could partner with to be able to improve the property and sell it for top dollar.
Sounds like Zoodealio.
Or we can just take what Jay said, everyone else's approach. Let's just wait for the market to crash and the next opportunity. That's another strategy.
Meanwhile, let's all just freeze. Tell homeowners to hold on. Yeah. Let's hold everything. Let's send these 4 million transactions down to 4,000.
Yeah, imagine how much that would make the freaking real estate skyrocket. One house on the market every now and then.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine?
I can't. It'd be crazy.
That would be wild. You want to send an economic crisis, halt all real estate. That would cause an economic collapse.
Well, this is definitely a market of experts. And another thing that Gary Keller talked about is how the previous hot market was all about speed to lead. It was whoever could get to that consumer first could get the deal. And it's shifted, and now it's about how well you can advise, how well can you explain options, how well can you go over programs such as Zoodealio that Eliot was just talking with your clients.
Experiences.
How can you inspire conversations and transactions? Because I think that many people are stuck, and maybe financially for many people it's a good idea for them to stay put, but there are some that could make a move, and we can be the ones to inspire that.
I think we sum that up, and especially 100%. In our world, this simple. What problem are you solving? Right. So at the end of the day, the experts, the savvy agents need to realize, hey, there's a problem in the marketplace, and how do you solve it?
And how do you explain it?
Yep.
You got to be able to have that conversation with them and actually get your point across to the homeowner and get them. It's what you say. Inspire them to do something, to get off the fence, and to go get that home equity line of credit and go make offers and ask for buy 2-1 buy downs and or wraps or whatever.
Yeah, you have to illustrate the ability on how they can do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, hey, thanks so much for listening today. Make sure you like, comment, and ring that bell so you can get notified of our new episodes. And if you're curious about Zoodealio, we would invite you to go to Zoodealio.com, click book a demo, and likely you're going to meet with Austin or James or Veronica, and they're going to give you a really cool run through of what we can do to help boost your business if you're feeling a little down in this market.